problem. Now remember, Joseph had dreams. He had dreams about stars and the sun and the moon having to what to him? Bow down. And then he had a dream about how the wheat would one day what? Bow down to him. And his family was like, does that mean you're going to be the boss of us? We're going to one day bow down to you? And so they were more jealous. But we're going to see how God spoke to Joseph in dreams. So we ended our story where Joseph has to come out of jail because Pharaoh has had scary dreams. He's had dreams where cows were healthy, and then there were 7 cows, and then the 7 cows were all dying off. And then he had a dream where there were 7 wheat. They were healthy, but then they were started to die off. And Joseph said, Pharaoh, this is what your dream means. I can't tell you what your dream means, but God can tell you what the dream means. He said, this is what it means. You've had 2 dreams. That means it will come to pass. You're going to have 7 years of plenty. That means there's going to be plenty to eat. But after that, the 7 skinny cows mean that there's going to be no food. So we have to save up the food while we can for 7 years, because after that, there's going to be no food. And Pharaoh looks at Joseph and he goes, your God, his spirit is upon you, he said, and is giving you favor. That means you're in charge. You figure out how to save the food. And so Joseph goes, okay. And so guess what? Joseph got to work. Remember, God was with him, and he got to work. And pretty soon, the 7 years go by. But guess what? Joseph now lived in Egypt for 27 years. So he doesn't look like an Israelite anymore. Now he starts to look like an Egyptian. And so this is what Joseph looks like now. It's been 27 years. He's already 17 plus 20 is what? 37 years old. And so there's no food. He's stored up all the food. He's made sure all the barns are full, but the food has run out. But the Egyptians don't have to worry because God was with Joseph. And so they come to Joseph and they ask him and he gives them food. So the Egyptians are being taken care of. But throughout the whole land, everybody else has no food. Well, back in Canaan, Joseph's family has run out of food. And the dad tells them, boys, in Egypt, I hear there's food for people to eat. Go to Egypt. Now remember, the dad thinks that Joseph is dead. He doesn't know that Joseph is in Egypt. And so he tells the brothers, go to Egypt and get food or we're all going to die. There's no food. And so the brothers, they pack some money and they go to Egypt. And guess what? They go before Joseph, but they don't recognize him. Because does he look the same? No. He looks like an Egyptian. They don't recognize him. And guess what the brothers do when they get to Joseph? They go down and they what? They bow. They bow down to him. And guess what? Joseph's dreams came to true, that his brothers would one day bow down to him. And so they bow down and they say, oh, great leader from Egypt, we have no food. We would like to buy food from you. Now Joseph wants to test his brothers because he wants to see, do you still have yucky in your heart? After 20 years, are you still the same people? And so he thought to himself, I'm going to test my brothers. Are they still sinful or have they changed? And so this is what he did. He said, I think you guys are here to play a trick on us. I don't trust you. He said, I'm going to put you all in jail.
Uh-oh.
So the brothers had to go to jail for 3 days. Now Joseph is not being mean. He's trying to test them. Do you still have yucky in your heart? Or are you different? So after 3 days, this is what Joseph says. He said, do you have a younger brother still at home? And they said, yeah, we have a younger brother named Benjamin, but he didn't come with us. And guess what? Joseph goes, I want you to go get your younger brother and bring him back. But they're like, no, we don't want to bring the younger brother back. Because they wanted to keep the younger brother safe. But Joseph goes, no, bring me your younger brother or no food. And he kept one of the brothers in jail, and the other brothers had to go back. So one brother had to stay in jail. These guys had to go back and get the younger brother. Well, the dad was so sad. He's like, I don't want you to take my youngest son because what if he dies? I don't think Dad trusted his sons. They said, what if they do something to my youngest? But they said, Dad, if we don't take him back, the man from Egypt said no food. So finally they were all getting starving and he said, okay, take him and let it be God's will. So the brothers took the younger brother back because Joseph wanted to see, will you sacrifice the one in jail because your hearts haven't changed? Or will you come and rescue your brother? Because remember, they had thrown him in the pit. They didn't rescue him. He wanted to see, have your hearts changed? And so when they brought back the younger brother, Joseph was able to see that their hearts had changed. And so he starts to weep. And he goes to another room because he doesn't want them to see him crying. And he's weeping because he's going to forgive them. But they were not nice to him, right? And so he's like, I'm going to forgive them and I'm going to give them food. And so he comes back out and he tells his brothers. He said, it's me, Joseph. They're like, what? And they were crying and weeping too because they felt bad. He said, it's me. And then he goes, don't weep and don't be as scared of me, because they said, oh no, he's going to get us. He said, don't be afraid of me. He said, because what you meant for evil, God is going to bring for good. And guess what? He gave them the food and he said, go bring my dad and bring him back to me because I want to see my dad. It's been 20 years. So the whole family goes before Joseph and he hugs them all and he takes care of them. He goes, I'm going to have you stay with me in Egypt because there's no food over there. Come and stay with me. I'll take care of you. I'll give you a special land and I will take care of you during the famine. And guess what? That's what God did. God took care of Joseph's family and all the Israelites.